Nation, episode 9 of 10 of Women in the Hobby, our 10 for 10 series, and eye-opening, educational, informative. Met 9 different women in the hobby in the last 9 days, so I'm really looking forward to today's episode, and I highly recommend you kind of stay till the end, whether you're a collector, entrepreneur, you're getting into the hobby for the first time, whatever it is. Kathryn Harrison is someone you're going to want to meet, and I think it's someone you're going to kind of see around the hobby a lot for the next 12, 24, 36 months. So just a little bit ago, I think in November 2021, she started Magpie. And Magpie is a data tool that we're going to learn all about today. Not only that, Kathryn's father was a collector since the 30s. So we're going to learn more of that and the history and all that stuff. So this is going to be an awesome episode. Without further ado, I want to welcome you. Kathryn, welcome to the 10 for 10 series on Luka's Tigers and Bronze. It's good to have you.
Oh my God. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. I listen to you guys all the time, and I'm thrilled that I get to join you.
And you're in Bleecker. You got your rep in Bleecker behind you.
That's right. Bleecker has been an incredible partner and help as we've built out the Magpie platform and as I've gotten initiated into the hobby. It's an incredible place where I get to talk to all of these different types of collectors. And so when I was thinking about where would I want to do this and where was the spirit of the hobby that I wanted to encapsulate, this seemed like the perfect place. Also, my dog makes a lot of noise at home, so this makes it a little better.
All right, so 2 questions. One, what kind of dog?
We have a mutt. We got
That's
her.
the best kind.
Yeah,
Best
she's
kind.
adorable.
The best
She
kind.
looks like a stretched out dachshund.
So whenever my father used to pass by, so it's different now. We passed by the dog park in my town. We took the kids for a walk. I don't have dogs. We walk the kids. So we took the kids for a walk last weekend. And we passed by a dog park, which I didn't even know was in the park. And I heard someone ask a woman, "What kind of dog do you have?" And she's like, "It's a Labradoodle." And I'm like, "That's a mutt. That's a mutt. That is not a Labradoodle, Shih Tzu, whatever. Designer breeds. That's like, it's a pet peeve of mine." But my father used to say it was a Heinz when you didn't know what kind of dog it was, because Heinz, ketchup, they say like it was 57 varieties.
Yeah, 57 flavors. Yeah.
There you go, different varieties. That's what he used to call it. So that's question 1. Number 2, who at Bleecker has been the most help? You gotta pick a name.
I can't pick one.
There's no place better to learn, right? You learn the hobby from those folks over at Bleecker. Different folks who will teach you different things.
Wow.
All right, don't put her on the spot. It's okay. But
Jess is the most helpful.
There's 2 people I have
funniest.
to call out. They're all amazing. First of all, if you're ever in New York City, you have to walk in, and this is, I just can't tell you enough. But first is Jess. I mean, I cannot tell you from the first time I came to Bleecker, so everybody knows Jess Mineo, Breaks with Jess. She runs Bleecker. She is phenomenal. She literally just helped me understand, how does this hobby work? She explained at the beginning, you need to learn about words like wax and breaks. Like, I was a newbie. I didn't know any of this. And she just broke it down, made it so simple, talked to me like, not like I was an idiot. And she's just been like an incredible resource from the beginning. And then the second person is Jacob Salter, who just is so great at being like, talk to this person. And again, he just is such a passionate collector. He's a hustler. He's making deals. And so those 2 are my go-tos for all sorts of questions, and not only building my business, but also, building my life as a collector. So, and then of course, Mark kind of helped opened me up to this world to begin with. So there we go.
I want to learn about Magpie, and I do want to learn a little bit about kind of how your dad got into the hobby, because we did talk about that. But before we do that, real quick, I know you just entered the space. What did you buy first, and why?
What did I buy first? My first card was an Alex Morgan card, because I love the U.S. women's soccer team. I mean, that's something that I can identify with. I played soccer as a little girl. I mean, also the U.S. women's team is amazing. I mean,
They
they
really
win all the time. It's great. And so that was someone that I've been a huge fan of for a long time. And I just figured if I was going to start a collection in the sports card space, it should be for people and athletes that I personally love and support and can get behind. And so now, with inspiration from the P. Ryan collection, I'm building my top 100, women's cards, and starting with athletes that, like Alex Morgan, that I know and love, and sort of building and growing from there.
If you guys are listening to this Monday night, I want to give P. Ryan a shout out because he's doing a break tomorrow with Fuck Jerry. Is it a flawless case, Kathryn? Is that they're breaking?
Before Kathryn answers, is that someone's actual name?
Yeah, it's a huge Instagram handle, Cage. Pretend that you're been in culture for more than a day.
No, but you said it 2 episodes in a row now, and you're just dropping F-bombs. I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
That is his Instagram handle. That is correct.
But is he like? Does he not love himself? Like, is it self-deprecating? Like, why?
It's a meme page.
Why would he say that about himself? I mean,
it's
if I
memorable.
say fuck Andrew, I say fuck Andrew. I'm angry at him. You know what I mean? Like, if I say fuck
get in line. But I love collabs like that from a true collector with a big social cultural presence. So you can follow Fuck Jerry, you can follow P. Ryan. You'll see that collab happening
just sounds terrible.
Tuesday morning.
Just sounds terrible. We have to put a parental advisory on this one now because that's like 2 F-bombs I dropped. And that's more than I've done the last 50 episodes. So we're gonna have to put a parental advisory on this one. It's terrible.
It's okay. No kids listen to this. So Magpie,
Jerry has parents. What do you think Jerry's parents think about that name? That's ridiculous. What's the matter with that?
That's Jerry's problem.
Probably making a lot of money, and they're not too worried. And as they have a house in the Hamptons, another house in Miami, maybe a house in Mexico.
Yeah, but when they're in the house in Miami and the friends come over to play canasta and they say, "Hey, Ethel, how's your son?" Oh, you mean fuck Jerry? He's great. I mean, it just sounds terrible. It sounds horrible.
Would you rebrand? 16 million followers.
I mean, that's a lot of followers. Maybe I
don't think he's rebranding that one.
I should be fuck Cage then. I don't know. It's
something working
add something
sure.
to it. It's all right.
Kathryn, your story is. I love your story, and I think your story is going to become kind of the standard. People who start in corporate America, I started in corporate America, who want to do something a little bit more entrepreneurial that follows their passions. Could you share a little bit about kind of how you found yourself at Magpie, why you named it that, and a little bit more about the tool?
Sure, absolutely. So my background, I started my career in financial services. I then spent 7 years at IBM building all sorts of interesting technology products. I got really interested in Bitcoin back in 2014, went down the crypto rabbit hole and ran product management for IBM blockchain for a couple years, which was amazing. Such a cool space, amazing set of assets. And I see an incredible number of parallels and crossover between what's happening with crypto, with cards, NFTs. I mean, we could have a whole other conversation about that. So I left IBM, which I had an incredible experience at, but I wanted to build my own company. I wanted to grow something. So I left at the end of 2019 and was set to launch my first company March 26, 2020. Timing has an amazing way of influencing our lives. So I ended up spending a little bit of time at home with my parents, who are in their 80s, and trying to help them get ready for the pandemic and clean out. And my father, who grew up in East Orange, New Jersey, has been a collector since the 30s. And, I think he basically stopped collecting when we were kids, but he had cards, he had stamps, he had coins starting from the 1920s. Unfortunately, he'd lost a portion of his collection when Hurricane Sandy put 9 feet of water into our house, but he still had some incredible assets. And so you can imagine my mother was kind of like, we're cleaning everything out. It's all going in the garbage. I don't know what you have. Let's get rid of this. And I knew enough about what was happening in alternative assets, in baseball cards, and a variety of other things that I said, wait, let me help you. Let me see what I can figure out. And let's go from there. So like every collector ever, I spent a ton of time poring over eBay, trying to figure out were there comps? What could these be worth? I was a total newbie. I barely knew about grading or anything like that, but I built him a spreadsheet. He had a few 1920s cards that were a little bit valuable, and his coins and stamps ended up being incredibly valuable, so that my parents managed to get $50,000, which was something that they would never have expected. So having gone through all of that, I was like, wow, this is really hard to do. And this is before Card Ladder was up and running. But what was even better about that experience, obviously the money's nice, but it was that bonding with my dad, like hearing about him going to polo grounds as a kid, collecting with his dad, where he would find stamps, getting autographs. Like that's time. And we took some videos. Like most people will never have that opportunity to hear those stories from their parents. And so I just realized that there needed to be a way to keep track of all of the different collectibles that you have, regardless of whether you're trying to collect as an investor or you're like a passion buy and hold. And telling those stories, yeah, it's helpful for things like authenticity and provenance, but it's actually so cool to like build the next generation of collectors, to build out the hobby. And so that's where Magpie came from.
It's amazing, right? It's we talk about, right? They say, when a door closes, open a window is another way in. Window closed, open another door. So Kathryn glossed over it, but back in March of 2020, the company that she was about to start was called Unzoom. It was for in-person meetings where you have to start with a handshake. You're not allowed to wash your hands. You're just in-person meeting only. Clearly that didn't work when COVID happened. I'm just playing, obviously. But think about that, right? Whatever the company was, here you are in your house, bonding with your dad, going over your cards and light bulb. It's like, okay, there's something here that's missing. I shouldn't have had to spend, this much time on eBay and scouring Google pages and whatnot to try to figure out what my collection's worth. And I'm sure my dad is not the only person out there who has a need for something like this.
Totally. And thank God I was there to not let, my mom get rid of it all. Right. And I think, unfortunately, collections sometimes aren't always like a source of familial happiness. So, and the other thing is that then all my dad's friends were like, wait, can you do that for me? And I was like, no, I cannot. But then I was like, wait. And then they were like, wait, but we'll pay you to do that. And I was like, And so was launched our white glove service, where we literally will go to your house or your office and we'll take pictures and we'll do inventory. We'll record videos. We'll hear the stories of all of your different assets. And what's so interesting about collectors is that they might start with cards or they might start with sneakers, but then generally collectors are curious, interested people that move from one category to the other as their life goes on. And so most collectors, I don't know about you guys, but like we'll have cards, coins, stamps, or sneakers, watches, fractionals, etc. So I just think there's a real need to look at people as like complete collectors.
For sure.
Beanie Babies, red wine, bourbon.
There you go. Exactly.
I've gone through this a couple cycles, and what else do I collect, Andrew? I don't know.
It's interesting getting to know the mindset of a collector, isn't it? Like I'm sure, like kind of as you're in this more and more, you start to see like a little bit of a thread kind of go through. Oh, I do love the community of collectors. It's a special breed. It's a little bit of gambling speculation with a little bit of nostalgia. Plus, also, when you go through a collection, like with your dad, I'm sure he's telling stories like, oh, I remember I got this card. I was with my friend Mike and we were here. And, oh, man, you don't remember this guy. Like, he was so influential in our time. So just this, I think a little bit of it is history buffs too, right? Like, we really love history.
Completely. It creates this thread across generations, which is so cool, right? And now like the cards that I'm excited to see when I go to shows are all the 90s stars that I would read about in my SI for kids, right? I mean, like I was super into that until like late middle school, when it's kind of hard to be a girl, and between braces and puberty and all the rest of it, you sort of move into other things. But it's so fun. And now I have nieces and nephews who are 3, 5, and 10. and they're super into Pokemon. They're super into sports cards. And so it's something that I can do with them now, which is great.
Nirvana, Korn, Limp Bizkit.
Exactly. You're speaking my language. There's
is
my
any
age.
of that going to have some like cultural relevance?
It's back.
Totally,
They've
it is
redone-
back.
Half of Nirvana's album is being redone as pop songs now. It's ridiculous. Smells Like Teen Spirit was just redone. I'm telling you. And
by who? MGK?
No, some female artist. I don't know her name, but it's on like whatever today's viral hits are. That it's on Amazon. You can listen to it if you like. But I'm telling you, it's coming back. Not only that, flannel shirts, Doc Martens.
Totally. I hope
grunge
Jokers
look.
don't come back. They were not really a big win for the 90s. But
90s women's soccer. We got to get you some Mia Hamm cards,
Mia
right?
Hamm.
Anything
Sports
you
Illustrated
could do,
Kids.
I could do better. Anything you could do, I could do
So
better.
I
than you.
actually
Remember?
now have a Mia Hamm card, although I'm kind of looking at the universe to figure out what else to get. I'm looking for gymnasts. So Mary Lou Retton, like growing up, was a huge figure in my life. So that's someone that I'm looking for. Let's see. Also, the athlete that Gina Davis played in A League of Their Own. I can't.
Dottie Kamenchek. She was in the movie. It was Dottie Henson. They changed the name. It was Dottie Kamenchek.
I need to find her card. Actually, this was one of my first best experiences. I went to the Toronto Expo in, I think it was October, November of 2021, right before we launched Magpie. And one of my classmates from high school won the Olympic gold medal playing for the Canadian national team. Her name is Gina Kingsbury. She's very famous, and she actually has a card. So I used her card as a way to open up conversations with all of these dealers. I was like, have you heard of Gina Kingsbury? I'm looking for her 2006 card. And it was one of the first women's collections of Olympic hockey players that they did. And I didn't find the card, but probably half of the dealers had seen the card. They knew it existed. They were helping me find and figure out where could I get it. Eventually we found one on eBay, but it was just so fun to have this awesome conversation about a girl I knew in high school. So
there you go.
Before we move on, because I do want to hear your journey as an entrepreneur, right? Because anyone's journey as an entrepreneur, Cage is still working in corporate America. So he's halfway in, he's one ass on two toilet seats is a common Russian saying. But
say it in Russian though. Let's hear it. It's got to sound better.
Anyway, I'm not gonna.
It sounds good. It sounds better in Russian.
How and when should people reach out and use Magpie? I want to make sure our audience knows.
Yeah, so we've seen 3 different types of collectors that are super excited about what we're building. So there are very prolific collectors that are interested in lots of different categories of collectibles, cards, watches, sneakers, comic books, etc. And when you ask them, how do you keep track? 95% of them will say, I have it in my head. And the other 5% will say, I have either a list or a spreadsheet, but I haven't updated it in 3 years. And so I always say to them, send us your list and we can create a beautiful gallery of all of your assets so that you can actually see and share everything you have with all the people that you love. So that's one category of collectors. The second category, we get a lot of people like me who are like, my uncle, my brother, my dad gave me this collection. I have no idea what's in it or what to do with it or, where I'm supposed to go. And so then we can actually help them figure out, this is what you have, this is valuable, this is not valuable, and here are some things that you can do with it if you're interested in either staying in the hobby or getting out of it. Magpie makes it super easy to share your collection with auction houses and marketplaces and other collectors so that you can find people that might be willing to buy your assets, which is really, really exciting. And then the third part, which I've been super excited about, is we're getting a lot of teenagers who are interested in building their collections and they want to hold on to their cards. They want to have them in their house, but they want to have an awesome way to show their friends. This is what I picked up at this show. This is what I picked up at that show. And we're seeing them use it both to connect with other collectors and then to show off what they've got in their PCs. So that's been really, really rewarding to watch how people are using Magpie.
I love it. And where should they go? Should they email you? I know it's white glove service, which I think the hobby needs more service businesses. I was talking to Cage about this just a few days ago. I did say that the hobby needs more service-oriented businesses. How would people reach out? Is it go to a website, reach out to you directly?
Yeah, so you can go to our website, super easy, yourmagpie.com. You can actually get the platform right from there. You can email us at hello@yourmagpie.com, and you can follow us on Instagram, which is your.magpie. So we're constantly posting stories of different collectors, showing off some of the incredibly cool collections that we have. So that's probably the easiest way to get started.
I love it. And for people out there that don't know, origin story, Magpie, what is that?
So magpies are these super intelligent birds that are known for collecting bright, shiny objects. So they literally have nests that they've found gold coins, diamond rings, all sorts of shiny objects. And so our clients are modern day magpies, collectors that are, chasing all sorts of bright, shiny objects.
Not me. My Christmas tree of card collecting was very dull. I don't have any gold prisms. I don't have any shiny cards. Andrew, you make fun of me all the time. That's it. Not shiny enough. So, but I mean, it's fun. It's thoughtful. Andrew loved the massage booth at Mint Collective. He's like, we need more of that. He's like, guys, gotta make sure Magpie survives at least in a national or whatever it is, because he wants a massage, right, Andrew?
I like entrepreneurs coming in and shaking things up. I like that. I think it's healthy for an industry because when it becomes to, this is how we've always done it, this is how it should be, it becomes very cliquey, right? And what we need is, hey, you guys do it your way, we're going to do it our way, and we kind of have, we grow the hobby together with innovation. So that's why I admired.
Well, I mean, I have to say, I cannot say enough how grateful I am for all of the collectors that are willing to answer my questions, that we've been able to talk about. How do you do this? Why do you do this? How do you decide what to collect? How do you decide whether you're going to focus on Hall of Fame rookie cards or you're going to build a complete set? I mean, I love how open and excited and passionate people are about this hobby, about their collections. And what I've been incredibly impressed with is how much time and how generous people like Sharon from Black Jaded Wolf, like Mark from Bleaker Training, like you guys, like Patrick Ryan, like David from Signed and Slabbed. I mean, there are so many people who have just made it like their work to bring more people into the hobby. And what's really cool when you're new to the space is that nothing's obvious to you. So I can ask lots of questions like, why do you do this? How does this work? Like, why is there no single list of all of the different types of cards that exist in the world? It's just really, really interesting to look at this space from a different angle and to get to sort of hear the stories and learn what's going on. And I have such wonderful things to say about Mint because it was such a great moment to sit down with all of these different people, some who are new, some who are old, and hear their own stories. And as I said earlier, I'm a little bit of a romantic. I love to hear why people are in this, what they're doing, what they're excited about. And I think Magpie really aims to make that super easy for collectors so that they can share those stories, keep track of what they have. And, whether they're doing it for investment purposes to make as much money as possible, or they're trying to build the most incredible collection they can, it's all great. I don't think there's any one way to collect. There's no one way to be in the hobby. And I've been so impressed at all of the people that are like, yeah, bring your ideas. Tell us, what do you see? What can we do? And I think that's really fun.
So it could be a fastball, it could be a curveball. I'm hoping it's not a curveball, but it's a fastball. You're an entrepreneur. This is your company. This is the whole deal. But I'm a soda guy. I put everything in terms of soda. I think I'm drinking a Coke Zero right now, right? So,
Nice.
so there's Coke, there's Pepsi, there's room for Dr. Pepper, right? I like Dr. Pepper every now and again, and it doesn't. Dr. Pepper doesn't have to say, "Hey, I'm better than Coke." It doesn't have to say, "Hey, I'm better than Pepsi." It doesn't even have to say what it does that's completely different than Pepsi. It's just, hey, I'm a soda also. You got variety of different sodas. There's enough soda drinkers in America, right? So you know where I'm going. I consider Jeff Wilson's market movers to be Coke. I got
Yeah, they're amazing. I've certainly learned so much from
Card Ladder
that platform.
Card Ladder could be Pepsi.
Totally.
Maybe I'll get heat for that, but you can interchange those if you like. Card Ladder. But let's say they're Coke and Pepsi, and Magpie could be Dr. Pepper. If I'm listening now, if I'm a listener who's listening to this and said they might not have heard of you right before this. I mean, you're at Mint. People who are there probably met you, but people who haven't heard of you. Is there a reason why they should use Magpie? Is it just another data tool? Is there something different? Is it just, hey, there's enough collectors out there that there should be 8 different options? Talk to me about things you might do differently, et cetera, et cetera. Like it's like fastballs, curveball, however you want to take it.
Well, first off, we have a big announcement that's coming up in a couple of months. So
Nice.
I would love to come back on and tell you all about
Shoot.
that.
No problem.
That's first.
Andrew needs a massage. No, not from you, not from me. He wants it from me. That's the thing. So I'm going to give him a massage. We'll do that during the episode.
Say no more. And we're very fortunate,
you
Kathryn, with what we do. We do an episode every day, and we've realized kind of a little bit more a role in the hobby. So anytime, come on. We want to be a platform that helps good businesses grow their audience. So anytime, we're happy to host it.
Awesome. So that's first.
We'll have to vet the announcement because if it's really not that big of an announcement, then no, we're not. No, but if it's a big enough announcement, you can come. Now, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, so that's first. I mean, I think the second piece is that I really believe that collecting is a team sport. That there are so many amazing platforms and takes on how to be a better collector to achieve your wildest dreams in the hobby, whether that's like making the most money possible or that's having the rarest, most incredible collection ever. And so Magpie really takes this like ecosystem approach. We partner with quite a number of different auction houses and marketplaces. We're talking to all of the different platforms. This is a space that is still so early. And so I have really I worked on open source software when I was at IBM. And those are projects where IBM, Microsoft, and Amazon, who are all like sworn competitors, are working together to make a space more efficient, more effective, and to make it more accessible to way more people. And I think that is really what's needed in the hobby. There's so many passionate people, great ideas. And we are really working to build the platform that makes it really easy for more people to get involved, to build collections of all different types, and to pull in the most relevant information wherever it might be. So I think that, there's just a huge opportunity if you want to figure out how do I get into this in a new way. The white glove service just makes it really seamless. We basically allow you to create your entire digital collection from your couch, and who doesn't want that, right? So that's really how I would say. I don't even think it's like Dr. Pepper. I mean, we're still creating this whole idea of soda. The world still hasn't really figured out that they want to have soda instead of water. That's the moment that we're at. I've seen this work out, and I've seen this in the crypto space. I've seen this in blockchain, and I love being early. I love building things, and I love doing this with really smart, funny, interesting people. So that's how we look at why collectors should come and leverage our platform. It just becomes an incredible place to connect with all of the different members of the hobby.
It's a very fair answer, and it's not a get your back up and I have to compete. I gotta take a shot at somebody else. It's kind of what I've come to expect from new entrants into our hobby and into our business. It's funny because Andrew says he learns from me. I learn a lot from him. One of the things he told me recently when we were having a conversation about a couple of competitors in the space, kind of taking shots at each other, and he's like, people have to realize that Microsoft and Apple can both win. right? They might compete on certain levels, but they're obviously both getting our money. You know what I mean? They're both doing fine as companies, and you don't hear them really coming out and taking shots at each other because they know they can both survive. Another example in our hobby is there's no shortage of breakers. And I don't see, this breaker coming out and saying, use me, don't use that breaker. He's terrible. Don't use that breaker. She's awful. There's obviously enough to go around. The hobby, the industry, whatever we're going to call it today, is big enough.
And Cage, real life example, if you kind of just forget the card industry, look at Silicon Valley, right? Why do all these startups open up there, right? Why are they so local there?
Good sand.
There's a big tech scene now in Utah. Why are they all flocking there? Or there's a big crypto scene in Miami. Why do they all go there?
Good weather.
Sure. On the surface, they appear like, okay, they're competitors. But really, if you kind of look at what they're trying to do is they're trying to share ideas. They're trying to share talent. They're trying to collaborate under the surface. And maybe they compete at the very high level, but everything below that is collaboration of ideas, talent, concepts. At least that's what I think.
Well, and I guess the other thing that that I would say is that Josh Luber said this at Mint, and I like it really reflects what I've been thinking since I got interested in this space. Is he said, and I may have the numbers wrong, but 3 million people bought a sports card last year. Fanatics alone has 80 million customers. Look at how many fans of fantasy sports there are. Look at how many crypto enthusiasts there are. Like, sports cards right now is getting just a very tiny piece of the pie, and people bring a variety of different interests, passions, and experiences. And so, I think that pie is just growing and growing, and that makes it better for everybody. And there's a lot of ways that we can all work together to get there. So that's certainly, my take. And we've since had conversations at Mint. I asked a question about data standardization. If we can all be talking about the same Luka Doncic card, that'll make it much easier for us to figure out what's the price, where do I buy it, what's happening, et cetera. And it's kind of something that people hadn't really thought about before or haven't had the opportunity. So I think there's so much room for collaboration and to bring in new ideas.
Makes sense. Data. It's funny. Everybody wants it clean. Everybody wants the same stuff. Cards, they don't usually lend themselves to the cleanest data, especially with all the different parallels, the different companies, the different condition levels. And even now what we're seeing, cards that are graded within the same grade are not exactly the same value level, the whole deal. So it's tricky, but obviously, there's ways to clean that data and do what you need to do. I mean, it's fun. It really is. It's, it's fun to hear how different people will approach it. I mean, I've been doing, I've been involved in one way or another since the mid 80s. It's cardboard. It's cardboard with people's pictures on it. But I understand why money and why entrepreneurs and why tech is coming into the space. It's definitely going more mainstream. I was watching ESPN last night, and the Yankee-Red Sox game was on, and the Red Sox pitcher came in, and the announcers were talking about how he collects cards and how he collects baseball cards of the people who hit home runs off of him. And,
that's crazy.
And you start to think to yourself, wow, you watch ESPN and they're mentioning Mint Collective and what Peyton Manning said. And now this guy's talking about, baseball cards. And I mean, it's just, you're right. And it's definitely a refreshing take on it. And guys, go back and listen to it, because I come at it all right, well, there's some companies here. Why do we need another one? And you come at it we may need 5 more, because the hope is that if we all work together and grow this pie enough, there might not be enough of us out there. We're going to add in Shasta, CNC, White Rock, and all these other soda companies that are going to come in. So.
Totally. We need cream soda. We need, LaCroix. We need all these.
That's it.
I have to tell you, first off, spaces like Mint Collective, like Magpie, like Bleecker Trading are bringing kind of some of these new perspectives into the hobby. But there's also like a real opportunity, and I know you guys have talked about this on the podcast before, to bring technology to make it all more accessible. At that first Toronto show, I went table by table by table, and Canadians are so nice. They spent so much time with me. They answered all my questions, and I was like, how do you keep track of the prices? Like, what do you use as your list? How do you manage inventory? And most of the dealers said, I have a rough estimate of how much I spent coming in, and I have a rough estimate of how much I walk out with. And I don't really know on a card by card, on an employee by employee basis, how I'm doing. And if this is going to be, a real industry, individual collectors, stores, dealers, they need the tools to be able to make sure that they're managing this in the best possible way. And I think that there's, that's another place where there's a huge opportunity for innovation. And it's going to be easy for some people. It's going to be harder for others. I want to be as inclusive as possible so that guys like my dad are like more excited about their collections because suddenly it's in their iPhone that they can go show their buddies, on the weekends. So
I don't know if you saw this, but so Jay Lee at the Mint Collective, he was speaking, right? And his friend was managing the table.
Yep.
And it just shows how outdated, we run the hobby. We just put like little stickers on the cards, right? Well, one, that's ineffective because card prices change every single day, right?
I mean, they change hour to hour. I was at Bleecker the other day when Jess was looking at WWE like boxes, and it was like literally and I was like, how do you manage inventory? But anyway, sorry, that's an aside.
By the way, light bulb, buy stickers. The stickers. The stickers.
Magpie-shaped stickers are clearly the answer.
For pricing, because, I mean, you got to change it every show, every day, the different price, Andrew. You use the stickers.
But if people don't know, he had 2 stickers on, I think one peeled off, and the sticker that was on it was like an inventory number that he would track back to his Excel sheet.
Right.
And what?
You caught me. You know this is my scam, and now I have to admit to it. Like, I go to shows with stickers, and let me see that card. I stick my thumb right on the card, and I'm like, oh, that $23 for that Michael Jordan rookie, I'll take it. It says it right there on the sticker.
Your scam is in reverse. Your scam is selling boxes and singles too cheap on Whatnot.
I like losing money. This is true.
Shameless plug. Follow us on Whatnot. Luka Nation.
Yeah.
Kathryn, I'm curious. What is one thing? Fresh eyes are always awesome, right? When fresh eyes come into a hobby, they see things that people who have been in it for 50 years might not. What is one thing that you think the hobby needs, and what is one struggle, pain point, challenge that you've run into with Magpie in 6 months or so since kind of launching?
Yeah, so I think that the Jay Lee story is a perfect example of one of the biggest challenges in the hobby. It's like you have incredibly volatile assets. Like some of these cards, some of these boxes are moving as much as stocks in a day, in a week, in a month. And so many dealers do this as a passion. So, they have their cards and they go to a variety of shows, and, the night before they might stay up all night and try to figure out what should the new prices be. And there are some great card guides, but being able to actually manage that is really hard. Scott Kozlowski, who used to run Sports Card for him, is now on the Magpie team. And he helped me understand just how painful this is. But the hardest part is going from this physical world where it is just a hobby or something you're doing on the side for fun. And the best part is when you find a new card, when you buy the card, when you trade the card, organizing it and managing it sucks. That's not fun. And how do you make that really easy, really painless so that you can figure out what you have, where it is, how you're doing from a financial performance standpoint, where it might be stored, do you have it insured or not? I mean, that is what I see as being able to manage your cards as easily as you manage anything else so that it can actually be part of your wealth. I can't tell you how many people I've met that make $50,000 a year but have $500K worth of cards or more. And that should be part of your overall wealth. And so that's what there's so much expert.
Also very scary. Very scary.
But you know what? I think there are so many opportunities to be able to take that expertise, that passion, that knowledge, and turn it into real into real cash. And I think that there's already platforms that are working on this, which are great. And I think the best way to do that is to get much more transparency about what are the assets that are out there, what are they worth, how are those prices fluctuating. So that's, where I see just tremendous opportunity. And it gives people who, thought this was something they're doing for fun, a whole new way to live their lives, to make money, to achieve their wildest dreams. So
think about it this way, guys, if you're out there, you got a young kid or two, they're in grade school, and you're thinking to yourself, all right, I also got a collection. Maybe you're the example that Kathryn just gave, where you're making $50,000, $60,000 a year, but you happen to have amassed a $500,000 card collection. You were lucky, you happen to live in the Northeast, you bought Tom Brady, whatever it might be, that you have that $500,000 collection and you have a $50,000, $60,000 job. But right now, you're starting to think, maybe you and your wife starting to think, maybe you and your husband starting to think, well, how are we going to pay for college? Right? And if tools like Magpie, Card Ladder, these things, they take the next evolutionary step, right? Where they're accepted, where the valuation is accepted on them, then you start to get legitimate lending capabilities. It's viewed as an asset. You don't just have to take a second mortgage on your house. Maybe there are lenders out there that once this is established and your platform is such that, it's got an actual valuation, it's worth $500,000 or whatever it may be, right? Someone's going to allow you to take a mortgage on your card. Someone's going to lend against that, and you can pay for college. I mean, think of like the next evolutionary step in this as an asset class.
Completely. I mean, I love Sarah Layton's story about how she got into cards because her husband couldn't work at his old job, and this became like a path. There's so many stories like that, and I think there's just so much more that can be done there. So when I bought a house in 2020, they didn't care about my crypto portfolio. They didn't care about anything. They just wanted to see my W-2. And that's not how the world works anymore. And I think that seeing this as part of your overall kind of wealth is really important.
Do you remember? So let's talk a little bit about your dad's collection. 1920s, you started collecting, right?
He was born in the 30s, but his cards date from the 20s. And I some of them came from his dad, who was, born in the late 1800s, which is insane.
What cool things in there, though? Like mantles, roofs? What did he have?
Mantles 50s. The 20s was a weird decade for cards. Candy cards, ice cream cards, Youngling type of ice cream like this. There's odd,
Beer?
strip. No, they had actually an ice cream before that, but yes, the same.
Yuengling had ice cream?
The same. Take a look. They have and they have Yuengling beer. They have ice cream cards. There's all kinds of different stuff, right? And strip cards, a lot of hand cut cards, odd cards.
How do you know this stuff?
From the 20s? Because the 20s was a weird look. You went from, well, listen, I mean, there's a different economy, right? It's the roaring 20s, and you go through the Depression, and, things were, no one was buying cards, right? So you have this weird era there in our history where you had the tobacco cards in 1909 to 1911. Then you have your Cracker Jack cards, basically your candy confectionery type of cards that were going on 1914, 1915. Not much from there until you get bubblegum cards again with the 1933 Gaudi cards. There were some caramel cards in the early 30s, also some caramel cards in there as well. But that 20s is an interesting, odd period where, you have strip cards, you have, hand cut kind of cards and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so he just had a few. They were, if I remember correctly, they were candy cards, but I should have pulled up the spreadsheet. I will double check for you. He had a few of them from the 20s. He did have a Jackie Robinson card, so that was really cool. It was not in good shape, unfortunately, and at the time I didn't really know, I read about grading, but I didn't really understand about how you flip it and all that sort of stuff.
And you sold them raw.
We sold them raw with coins and with stamps to an auction house. So
Leighton, Vintage Breaks. Yeah, I know you're listening. You took advantage. We know you got that Jackie Robinson. I don't think you would have bought it with cards, with coins and stuff like that also. But no, I mean, that's an amazing thing, right? I mean, think about that. I want to go in my basement now and see what I can find. I want to find in the basement. Like, go sell some stuff, right? Go see if Beanie Baby
Empty pints and Drew Bledsoe cards.
What?
I'll save
Drew
you the time.
Bledsoe. Drew Bledsoe. Exactly. Exactly.
So now I'm doing this for my nieces and nephews. So they're super into Pokemon cards. So what I do is I'll buy them nice boxes as like a present. And you can imagine, you know, like a 3 or 5 year old, all they want to do is rip packs, right? And then they want to play with the cards. But my brother and I, we pull out the nice cards, we put them aside, we put them in top loaders. They're in a nice box. And then when they get to be teenagers or maybe a little bit older, we'll be like, hey, look at what we got for you in the like early 2020s. Like, who knew, right? And so we're actually like seeding that next generation of kids that's going to be, and when they're 80, like God only knows we're going to be living in the Matrix or who knows, to have these like, oh, this cool, you know, 2021 celebration box, you know, cards. It's going to be so cool. So I think that's like one of the most fun parts, is that kind of link that it ties between all of us.
I like the celebration. The Matrix, just a fancy Zoom. That's what I've been told. It's just a fancy Zoom thing.
Kathryn, any thoughts? I mean, you got to see it from the inside at IBM, right? Crypto, but specifically NFTs, which I don't love the term NFTs because NFTs are so many different things. For this question, I don't ever understand why you roll your eyes, Cage.
You don't like the term NFTs? What the hell does that even mean?
Well, because I don't think most things are NFTs. I think most things are digital collectibles.
Okay, but those aren't NFTs. Those are digital collectibles.
I don't like umbrella terms that are
I
so
understand what
loosely
you're
defined
saying.
that you and I have different
That it
definitions,
becomes,
so we can't communicate.
I get it.
Yes.
So, like, you don't like that people use the phrase NFTs or the term NFT for things that aren't really NFTs. It casts too wide of a net for you.
Yeah, digital. It's really just digital collectibles. Do you have any thoughts on that? Like,
I have so many thoughts. A couple of things. Number one, I bought my first crypto kitty in 2018. So I think that this is a really interesting space. I think that NFTs right now are really focused on like profile pictures and digital art. And I have to say, Dapper Labs has done an amazing job with NBA Top Shot and now some of the other. They really get that this is just like the next generation of collecting. So I think that like NFTs as a technology, because ultimately what it is a technology, and candidly, nobody should care what the technology is. What you should care about is how you use it. And so I think profile pictures and digital art are awesome. There's cool ideas about royalties for artists and players and things like that. But where I think this starts to get super exciting is when you're using it as like community access for groups of people to get exclusive access to athletes, to breaks, to like interesting content or capability that they wouldn't have otherwise. I think it's really interesting as it relates to like history and authenticity of cards. And I am confident that Fanatics is going to embrace this, obviously what they're already doing with Zero Cool and some of those projects, incorporating that history so that we can know where did these cards come from, who owned them, all of that. So I think there's a ton of really incredible opportunities there. And I guess the last thing I'll say is that crypto is like magical internet money. If you're not like an economist or a super financial guru, it's kind of hard to relate to Bitcoin, to ETH, to Solana. Like, you have to really go deep to understand that. But like,
I used to pray for the Tooth Fairy. Now I pray for the magic airdrop fairy.
There you go. Exactly. But so here's
Open down,
cool thing.
3 ETH in my wallet. I need it.
And like, unfortunately, like the crypto world has made it so hard and unapproachable and jargony and just like complex that most people are like, meh, I can't be bothered. NFTs provide that amazing bridge, in my opinion, to that kind of digital world because it's tied to things you already know and love in culture, whether that's sports, whether that's art, whether that's community. Like, I think that NFTs are actually going to be the bridge that helps to get us there. we're in a big hype cycle at the moment. Every, project is dropping and whatever. We're going to see that burst. We've already seen that burst a little bit. But then you're going to reset higher. And I think sports cards collectors are right on the cutting edge of that because they can see like, I've got these cards. I've got NBA Top Shot. I can start to compare how they perform, what they do, and physical tangible assets are going to become much rarer. I know there's a lot of debate in the ticket space. I'm not necessarily going to wade into that, but
Very smart.
those assets are changing. And so having that record, that history provides this really cool crossover, which I think is just awesome.
You know what Dapper did well, and what digital is going to do well is the, like you're saying, the barrier to entry, right? You don't have to know all the terms. You don't have to know all the science behind it. It was you can put your credit card in, and all of a sudden you're on their blockchain. You're buying that. And I'll go one step further. One of the pain points right now, especially with the world, with tangible, everybody's saying, "Oh, grading. There's no counterfeit. I know what's real. I know I don't have to worry about the grade. I don't have to worry about waiting 18 months to get it back from a grading company. I don't have to worry about shipping it. All those things are positive. But you know what else is positive? You know what came out this week in basketball? What came out this week in basketball was this. Right? This is a Prism collegiate, Prism draft basketball. You know what just happened? The season just ended. So this is this year's rookie class. They're not rookies anymore. They just finished their whole season. Right? This is them in their college uniforms. The production is so far behind that this is now something that should have come out before the season, right? Yeah. And you know what you're able to do with digital? The UFC Strike Dapper has. They are going to have releasing this week UFC 273, which happened on Saturday. Yep. Special moments for the people who won the bonuses. The fight of the night, blah, 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 performance bonuses in that fight on Saturday.
Totally.
Not just are you getting rookies during the season, but you're going to get digital assets that celebrate things that happened during that season. Not rookies that are one rookie of the year last year and they get their rookie card this year. It is a way to be more timely. It's a way to be more present. And I can tell you guys, think what you want about digital. I'm actually rethinking this myself, especially with Kathryn hitting home the stuff. I watch my son. He will not watch regular television. He wants it right now. He wants Netflix. He wants a commercial. I'm not watching this baseball game. Look at all these advertisements. Look at this. Can you record it and I'll watch it? We'll fast forward it. Can we watch it on Netflix later when there's no commercials? I'm like, no, that's not how it works, pal. But it's instant. I want it now. Yeah, digital is able to do that for these next spoiled kids that are coming up and want everything yesterday. So it's just another little fun thing.
Totally. And the way of consuming content is just completely changing. I mean, the pandemic did that for us, and this next generation of kids is going to be, they're going to be like living in, hate to use the word, but like the metaverses, and they're going to have different games and different heroes and stars and avatars and all of these different pieces. So we're going to collect slightly different things than what like my dad collected when he was super excited about stamps. And I'm like, well, yeah, I have to find stamps to mail my Christmas cards, right? So I think like this is such an awesome time because we are shaping what this future is going to look like. And it's so great to see kids at card shows and to have them have both that physical and that digital side. And that's what's going to keep the hobby alive for a really long time. So
she's being modest. Her dad had an inverted Jenny stamp. It was pretty amazing. It was a good time. That'd be worth more than $50,000 though. By the way, look that up. It's a fun one for stamps. Brewster's Millions. Nice segment in Brewster's Millions. Remember, he had to spend his money and not have an asset at the end, so he bought the inverted Jenny, which is the plane upside down, and then used it, mailed it. So you got value. You actually mailed the stamp. But you are invited back anytime you want because, guys, get on YouTube and watch this. Not as much as me, but she gives me a run for it talking with the hands. Right? The hands are everywhere. So watch this one on YouTube. I'm doing it like this. She's got a little, but this is how we go.
Are stamps and coins considered the hobby?
No, it's a different hobby. Numismatism, whatever the heck you call it with coins.
We all get caught up in
rheumatoid arthritis.
The latest and greatest. Sometimes, especially you new collectors out there, I think this would be valuable for everyone. Go back and just like scour the internet for, the history of stamp collecting, the history of coin collecting, right? Because all of this stuff, it kind of builds on each other, right? and it will give you a little bit of an understanding of how digital collecting is going to be built on top of traditional collecting of cards, right? And so I think if you kind of want to get away from the Instagram drama, the fighting, the ticket stubs versus cards and all that stuff, a little bit of a history lesson. Go read about stamps and collecting stamps. Go read about coins and collecting about coins. I think it'll be a really fun exercise.
There you go.
Where should people follow you? Where should people find Magpie, and where should they follow you?
Yeah, absolutely. So check out our website, which is yourmagpie.com. Our Instagram handle is your.magpie. We're also on Twitter at your.magpie. And then email us at hello@yourmagpie.com. We love meeting new collectors. We're just about to launch all of the content that we filmed at Mint, which is story after story of all of these collectors. How did they get into the hobby? What are their white whales? And see if maybe make some deals out of it. So yeah.
Cage is my white whale. What are white whales?
It's like the thing you're seeking, sort of like a Moby Dick.
Moby Dick, searching your great quest in life.
Some people refer to one-of-one cards as white whales. I remember when I collected UFC, the one-of-ones from Triple Threads were affectionately called like white whale cards. But yeah, it's what you're searching. People use the word grail pretty often in the hobby. That's my grail card. It's white whale would be like the one, right? The one that you're searching for years to get. So yeah, it's fun stuff, man. Now I said Dick and fuck Jerry in the same episode, and that's not good.
No, I mean, and I think what's really funny is that like people like to talk about the hobby as this thing or that thing. Like collecting is this like amazing human thing. We love to find bright, shiny objects, and that's what we're all doing for whatever reason. So, and we think that Magpie makes it really fun and easy to do. So we hope you guys will check it out. Real quick,
and I know we got to go, but real quick, how was the Bleecker event Thursday and Friday of last week?
Oh, it was great. So Magpie, we had our team offsite at Bleecker, which was great. We decided rather than being in an office or a WeWork or something like that, we wanted to really like situate ourselves in a mecca for the hobby, which in New York, Bleecker Trading is one of those places. And in order to like celebrate all of the different people that we've met and all of the different sides to the hobby, we invited friends and family, different people in the community to come to Bleecker, learn a little bit about Magpie and have cocktails. And who doesn't love cocktails on a Thursday evening? One of my favorite parts of the event was there were a couple of women that I know through other parts of my life who came, and they spent probably 2 hours grilling the Bleecker team about how to understand and what to buy. And for $100 investment, what could they flip it to? What was the time horizon? And they had so many questions about which sports, what time frame, where should I buy it? How do I buy it? What do I look for? Does it have to be graded? And those are the kinds of conversations that like Magpie is super excited about creating and sponsoring and driving. And so, we're all about just bringing all of these different people in the hobby together. And so we can't wait to do more of them. And it was great to see both some like superstars of the hobby along with total newbies come together. And that's how this whole thing grows.
I love it. And New York's home base for your team, or is it remote?
So New York is our main home. We are always looking for incredibly talented people, everyone from engineers to marketers. And we do have a fairly large remote team, and we come together once a quarter. And then we obviously meet up at shows and all sorts of other things, but just to make sure that we're all on the same page. So it helps us bring together kind of the best people to build something really cool. So
I love it. Kathryn, thank you. You're welcome back anytime. Big fans, big supporters of what you're doing. And I know Luka Nation will be as well. Yourmagpie.com. Luka Nation, go support.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. This was so fun.
Thank you.